as introduced, my name is Steve. I want to talk a little bit about, I don't know, it's a little experiment, maybe it's a cult, you be the judge. About 8 years ago, I started a dumplings group for product managers, and kind of just was, hey, let's go out for lunch kind of thing, when, you know, we're all based in the city and that was an easy thing to organize. And now it's grown to, there's like 248 people in our Slack channel. We get 20 people or so going out for dinner. It's a real vibrant community, a tribe of product managers who get together and talk about their problems, share ideas, there's strategy discussions, all very NDA. And I wanted to share my learnings, how it started, how you run it, because really I want you to enjoy that, having a community and starting a community about something that you are passionate about, because I think it's so important to have your own tribe that you can be a part of. Our jobs are stressful enough. Amir talked a little bit about product management. Yeah, it's hell out there at the moment. So you actually need people to talk to. So on that, first of all, hi, my name is Steve. Product manager, product leader. I've been doing product management for about 15 years. I've done coaching and mentoring, about half of that. And it's widely understood. Amir talked about some of the challenges. That was funny. I didn't know he was going to do that. And it's definitely an unloved part of the job, especially by UXers, hence the other talk. We have loads of stakeholders. Everyone wants something different. Nobody is happy. The best we can ever aim for in product management is to make everyone equally unhappy. And so I say this is the best job, but it's also the worst job. So that's why I think these sort of things, little communities, are really important. And I named it Dumplings for Stressed Product Managers. So you can see it, that was a part of a recent one. The unloved goes deliberately why I put stressed in the title. And this is us meeting at it's a slightly dodgy Chinese restaurant, because like the slightly dodgy Chinese restaurants are the best ones, aren't they? This is just in Chinatown. This, you can see it's tables, it's sharing. We'll talk a little bit about that. After dinner, we might go out for dessert. Sometimes we go to a bar. Sometimes we do all of those things. And really, I love this little community. I think it's amazing. So yes, I think sharing this with other people so you too can be part of a community, you can actually create your own if you want to. You can be that change that you want to see in the world. So let's talk about those learnings. First is crafting a topic. And the topic is important because you kind of want to talk about, you want to explain to people, what are we going to talk about? And it's okay to talk about work, or, you know, maybe it's recognizing that we're all in this together, and, you know, it's okay to share your positive and negative experiences. And actually, product management's unloved. It's quite normal to have a whole lot of negative experiences. Mel actually has just joined, comes along to dumplings. So if you have any questions, you can also ask her. One of the advantages of crafting a topic, and you saw I called it stress product managers, it's self-selecting. So people feel like they can select in and they know it's going to be light conversational and it's going to be a little bit about work. But also, if you don't want to come, that's fine also. But you've set an example of how this session is going to go. So you don't get people who are surprised or are upset. And one of the things that we found, actually, so I talk about kind of inclusive, if you have a topic, you find that actually, as soon as you go off topic, you start to lose people. It's weird. I talked about going from dinner to drinks or to dessert. You always lose people along the way. It's like they only come for the one thing that you've described as that topic. So one of the things to think about if you're going to create this is, what is that common bond? Is it about work people? Is it about your, maybe it could be about UX, a lot of UX is here, or it could even be something else. If you, you know, have a particularly passionate about other topic, Amir talked a lot about AI. So you could craft a topic and then go from there. Second thing I wanted to talk about was leading it. These things don't start by themselves. Someone has to lead it, and it doesn't have to be just one person. It can be multiple people. But someone has to organize that first meeting, and maybe it's just a few of your friends, you want to talk about a thing, and then people going out for lunch, people going out for dinner, or maybe it's even a small little meetup. But start small, because you just can't start big. So you have to find then a way to fuel participation. So we do it in a variety of different ways. I mean, dumplings enough is enough. People bring along friends. We love it when people bring along work friends. But we also have a Slack channel. So it's full of memes. It's full of questions. It's full of voting for how we're going to do things. Try and drive a sense of community and a sense of participation. And then usually make sure that you're gathering that community together around that topic. You've got to be careful you're not too far off. But someone has to do all that curation and making sure. Otherwise, I've seen examples of where I didn't organize a dinner and just no one. It's happened in a few times where no one signed up, or when they turned up, less people turned up because I wasn't there, and it just. To me, that indicates that you can't just assume you've now created a self-sustaining group. Someone still needs to be in the middle of it. And it doesn't have to be one person, but who are those people in the center? And if you're wanting to create this and this is what you want to do, it's going to be you, and you have to actively lead it. So if you're leading it, this is going to take your energy. So this has to be super important to you. So like I said, I was a product manager, and about 7 years ago, my daughter asked me, why aren't you happy anymore? Which is really tough to hear from your daughter. And it was true. And it's a tough job, but I used to be such a happy person. And I actually spent a whole, maybe a year just looking into, well, what is happiness, and trying to understand it. And one of the things that I came to is, anyone heard of Ikigai? Oh, that's so easy, because I actually put it up here. I looked at what made me happy, and what did I like organizing? What am I good at? And I ticked 3 of them. I didn't quite tick the what can you be paid for one though, but maybe that's a future growth opportunity. So Ikigai means like you can build on what you love, and you've already got your superpowers. So, if you show your excitement, it naturally comes through. People are excited, and you actually have that momentum, that energy to organize this little community. So you can't just choose a topic that you think you're going to be rich in. You actually have to, what are you prepared to sweat for and make happen? Another topic. This is a great photo. This is another restaurant. I handed my phone to the table next and said, hey, can you take a photo? And this is what my camera roll looked like at the end. The point is really to make it regular. People are busy. It's hard to schedule time in their lives. Everyone's got family and work and conferences to go to. So how do you find a way into their lives so that they are prepared to come along and actually be part of something? And so regularity and finding a good time of the week and a good part of the month as a way to create a cadence that people can just start to ask, oh, when is dumplings this month, or so forth, makes it so much easier. People just start to assume they're now part of that community, and that now, oh, hey, this should come up again. Book it out, whatever. So now we move around some. This is not creepy at all that someone's got a light on me over there. We moved from, originally it was lunch, then it became dinner, and then I'll talk a little bit about COVID. And then we do voting sometimes. It turns out that Tuesdays and Thursdays are always the best day. 6:30, people get a chance to get out of work. Adapting around to find out what resonates with people, and you can't get everyone, really works. And it also drives that sense of, hey, we were part of deciding how this works. Shared food. Dumplings are the perfect shared food. You buy a plate, like you're at a restaurant, you order, a pack of 12 like a plate of 12 dumplings. That's enough for everyone to have one. It's not just that, it's also the fact that you can also order something knowing that other people will have it as well. You don't have to eat all 12 of those dumplings. So they're the perfect shared food. And I think they're a great way to kind of break down that kind of, if you were meeting over a chicken parmigiana in a pub, that just doesn't drive that same sort of sense of community. Rotating trays. Now, I call them lazy Susans, but I don't know. Does everyone know what a lazy Susan is? Yeah, I wasn't sure. Was it like I quickly looked it up. It's possible that term has been around since 1700, but I feel like, you know how Karen got changed name? If anyone's here called Susan, maybe it doesn't work. That's like a level up thing, because the spinning, everyone can get access to food. Inevitably, there'll be an accident. Accidents are great because nothing funnier than getting soy sauce on you. And also, drinks are naturally that lubricant that helps people talk. So thinking of, if you want to do this community, what is the right food? I could totally recommend dumplings. But something that invites conversation and breaks down those barriers and allows people to share. Adapt. We started this 8 years ago. Over COVID, everything changed. Hands up if you weren't in Victoria during COVID, because otherwise you weren't here. We actually adapted, and what you'll see is we still had the monthly meetings, now over Zoom. What you can see here is UX was cooking spring roll pancake. We all cooked it at home. This was, I think, something called chocolate crack or something, I can't remember. Yeah, it was delicious. But everyone cooked it. Mug cakes, all these things. People brought this, and they still kept going with the sense of community. So you can adapt. You don't want to be too like pivot too far off into some other topic. But if it's still that mission, that goal that you're trying to achieve, people will adapt with you, because I guess they're also invested in the community. So what does that mean? Remember I talked about memes. So wrapping this up, what I think we're doing is creating a diversion for product managers away from their day job. And, there's work, there's issues, there's, technical things. We make in-jokes about prioritization methodologies. That's really sad in a way, but it's product manager humor. And it's about sharing with others, which is usually about work. There's certainly about ideas and topics and strategies and how they do things. And there's the other part, which is the me part, which is I love that bringing people together, and that is enjoyable for me. But I love creating things for other people where they have fun. And so there's a perfect Venn diagram overlap between what I want and what the community also wants to achieve. And dumplings is the future. So to wrap it up, the learnings. I don't know if it's too small for people at the back, but craft a topic, lead it, make sure it's important to you so you can run. If you want the slides, I can send them out afterwards. You can make sure it's important to you so you are willing to lead it and through the hard times as well. Have some cadence, make it regular. Ideally, dumplings, drinks, whatever, but a shared food is a great way to run a session. And adapt if necessary, because you can't just do the same thing over and over. And with that, get out there and creating an amazing new community. Right, thank you. Any questions? Yes. Oh, hang on, we're going to do the microphone thing. Or I can, yeah, for the recording. Yeah, but not for the video.
Hi, my name is Val. I'm from Kmart. So I have a question. I think you did a really good job of summarizing what do we need to do to continue and maintain community. for like keep happening, have more people join and stuff. What is your biggest learning when you have to start the community from ground up? Like, what is the most important thing when you're trying to start? Like, for example, obviously, I would assume that when you start this dumpling community, you probably have like already have some like-minded people, or you're already going out for lunch or something, and then you propose, okay, how about it? Let's start a dumpling community. But for some of the people, like that might not be possible, or that's not their daily routine. So
Yeah.
in that case, what is your advice in starting a community from ground zero, and what's your learning recommendation, I guess?
Yeah, let's talk about the origin story. So I used to live in Australia. I moved overseas, 11 years. I moved back, and I used to work in companies that don't really exist anymore, Nokia. And I actually came back and I had no idea what I was going to do in Australia anymore. The work I did overseas did not have a natural parallel. And I searched for meetups to find that sort of thing. And I met loads of people through the meetup, and from that, I started the dumplings group. You could also drag in, since there was overlap between product management at my work and product management in the meetups, it gave it a way to grow. But yeah, going out there and joining a meetup, and you've come along today and you've probably already been talking to people, build on that, because that is how you start. But I recognize it's tough when you're like new to actually get out there and meet new friends, and especially people who have established lives already. It's tough, and yeah, putting yourself out there with meetups and things like that is awesome. Question from Mel at the back, who should not be asking any questions.
Say you're all welcome to join Product Anonymous. We have a lot of UX and design people there too. And
that is true.
Steve's thing. It's in Meetup. It's a really active community. We've got events once a month, and that's where the dumplings is connected to the Slack channel. Product Anonymous.
Yeah, there's also, if you're a UXer, there's ladies at UX. That seems to be started up again since the end of, and there's probably more that I just don't know about. Yeah.
So obviously, there's probably more designers than product managers in the community. I'm thinking, I'm shocking at organizing events, and the biggest stress I have is where shit, there's too many people, and I want it to be intimate, and I don't want to tell people, sorry, no, you're not invited.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened? And how do you manage that when you start to see crap, the group's getting a little bit too big? You're losing that intimacy, that community, a bunch of randoms potentially coming, because I love dumplings, but it's just losing its authenticity.
Yeah, so that's, we used to get randoms. For some reason, they go away again. I think you never get the same 20 people. People come and go depending on that thing. There's always a little bit of a freshness. We've had some of the random people who've come, but they don't come back. And I don't know if that's just the vibe. I think the other part of your conversation is like, we have 20 people at a restaurant, and it's actually very difficult to book a restaurant without putting your credit card behind the thing. Just so you know, there's only a few ways you can do that, because yeah, there's going to be a point where actually it becomes an event if we keep growing it too far. And I don't think we can grow too far. And I certainly do not want to put my credit card in the booking. So, because then it's minimum spends, and I don't want to. So I don't know how big this is going to get, but I don't think it can get much bigger than 20. That's like half of a floor of a restaurant. So.
First 20 people in, perhaps.
Yeah.
Steve, I have a question. You've talked pretty much about it, so your talk, but I think we have a challenge with people not really knowing why we need a community. I think whether it's because we've had a lot of the community has come through times where we've been locked down and things like that. But what would you say, is the reason why, as humans and as people, we need a community?
Yeah. The term I like to use is not very popular, but it's a lonely monkey is a dead monkey. And I think it comes back to, maybe it's an evolutionary thing that we're a tribe animal. I think it's sad if people don't realize that in some ways. And, it's if people are battling alone. I think you're not alone. There's someone else out there who has got the same problem as you have, and maybe an alternate solution. I don't think you can force people into a community. But I guess if you're doing the change you want to see in the world, I guess you're hoping that you attract those people. You can't, and you just put it out there. Yeah, I don't know, unless you've got some suggestions about.
I do. Well, sorry.
I was going to say, like in this world where like, I read this, I don't know where that come from, so
Yeah, I have had discussions with someone who I was asking, why aren't you coming to dumplings? And he said, oh, he had some job interviews and it was really getting him down and he just didn't want to face everyone. And I said, maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you should, share this with friends. And he came along and he was really thankful that I goaded him into it. He didn't realize he even needed that. And I think the camera on, camera off thing, I used to work with teams in India and they never had any internet. They had really poor internet, so it was always camera off. When I started working for a company that was camera on, I found that I was sitting down more and that was not good for me. And so I think it's fine to turn your camera off because I have a radio mic and I'm going to walk around the room and it just looks weird if you're just looking at my bookshelf. So I think the camera on is not abused, but overused in a way. I think you should be able to still be okay to turn it off. And mental health is so important that, if you are stressed out, but sure, don't go off and play with a cat instead. Okay, I've done that.
Oh, just a quick comment. I would say it's about, in simplistic terms, human connection. To me, that's, and it's an innate part of being human, I think, is to connect. Funnily enough, I realised I created a community during COVID within Telstra Purple just to see people and particularly get to know people in other states that we never meet. Called it relationship building. We once a fortnight have an individual chin wag with someone in the team and get to know lots of people. Just that human and connection and building relationships. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Hello, Steve. First thing, I'm curious about that photo that you have in your app. Is that you?
No, I think that was Unsplash. I collected all the URLs for Unsplash. I don't think I ended up putting that in. Or this came from Microsoft. It's stock photo. All the other photos tend to are selfie mode. So.
Yeah, that's not my questions. When the community has started, then how do you maintain the engagement with that group over a period of time?
Yeah, it's hard. In some ways, it has to be a little bit self-maintaining, but at the same time, providing value to them. Sorry, I'm sounding like a product manager now. Like, what is it that they are enjoying and trying to give more of that? We've certainly been through ups and downs and from cross-promoting into things. So Mel talked to the Product Anonymous group. We also talk about dumplings in there, try and get people into product dumplings. Helps. It also helps keep it a bit of fresh blood, fresh discussions. But I guess if a community is just sort of tailing off and thing, there's probably, you can try. To me, that means you don't have that kind of, you're not addressing their needs, but if you can find that, but otherwise, sometimes things just die. So, yeah, you can't force it. Was it you can't lead a dragon, you can only sit on its head? I'm not sure what that expression. Someone told me that, and I don't know if it's true. Had not tried myself. How am I going for time?
Got time for, one more minute really before we need to allow time for handover. So one last burning question, and otherwise you can grab Steve during the break. put your hand up really.
So you had yours up ages ago, didn't you? Yeah, sorry.
Steve, so my question is, because I have a photographers community,
Oh, nice.
the thing is like a lot of them are from UX and IT. How do you, for example, like I like the idea and I would love it to be within like UX, the thing that I love the most. How do you keep things on agenda, for example, like because like a lot of us get distracted with what we see with our camera and we lost the actual conversations. So how do you normally manage that? Okay, the agenda for example, like in your back of your head would be like something to like, as you mentioned about the value, but sometimes other may not like see it that way. When someone is managing or running that community, how do you normally keep them engaged so that there's a value for everyone coming, not just the photography, but something that you want to talk about as well?
We don't have an agenda so much as it's just about product management. Having said that, we have UX, IT people, and data science kind of people come along. So open discussion is kind of encouraged. However, I do know that people often talk about, hey, my name is Steve, what do you do? And then they talk about, oh, I work for REA was the example before. Oh, what do you do there? And then you naturally end up with, how do you deal with roadmaps or something like that? Because we know a little bit about each other already. So we don't tightly control the agenda. We don't have speakers. We don't have any of those things. But it kind of naturally happens out of frustration.